Today we're creating a vintage inspired illustration of a sailor smoking a pipe against the sea. We're keeping it charmingly simple using only 4 colours and lots of texture to bring this piece to life. Don't forget there's a free Procreate sketch and colour palette available in the description below to help you get started. You'll also find details about the brushes I'm using, but feel free to use whatever you prefer. So grab your iPad, fire up Procreate and let's dive into this textured vintage sailor illustration. I've set my canvas dimensions and colour profile to the following settings so you can follow along exactly if you like. Alright, so I've got my sketch here. I'll just take each layer and switch it to multiply, take it down to about 30 or 40%. Do the same for this one. And the background colour, I'll select this lightest colour here from our palette. And we're only using 4 colours for this illustration. Alright, so I'll select the rugged marker at around 7%. And we're going to use this darkest colour here. Let's create 2 new layers. Select both, group. I'll rename this one Sailor. Select the bottom layer. Actually, let's close this and just pop this sketch group on top. Select the bottom layer. And I'm going to make an outline of the t-shirt, the beard and the hat and part of the pipe here, and then fill it in with colour. And before I do, I can turn the background sketch off, and I might just take this opacity down a little bit more. And just make sure that that's on 7%. Alright, so now I'm grabbing the colour and dropping it in here. Continue filling, drop it in here and here. Now I'll select this pink colour. Let's just grab this layer and pop it on top. I'll select this bottom layer here. I will momentarily just turn this layer off. And we're just going to do the face, the ears and the neck and the arm. Okay, I just need to close this shape off before I fill it in with colour, otherwise it will bleed. So drop that colour in, continue filling. And let's turn this layer back on. I'm just going to grab the eraser and select the rugged marker. I'm just going to erase a little bit of the ear back like so. Select this layer, create a new layer on top. Select this light blue colour here. And I'm just going to draw in this part of the pipe, like so. And fill that in with colour. Now I'll be using gritty crayon. Let's take it up to about 18%. We'll keep the light blue colour. Create a new layer on top. And let's add some detail to the beanie, like so. You might just take it down in size a tad, maybe size 13. Now I'm going to use the grungy marker at 14%, new layer. Let's grab the darkest color and I'll add the eyes and the ear line. Now I'm going to use this really cool brush, wet and dry brush, at around 47%, and I'll select the lightest color. Let's select this layer here, create a new layer on top. I'm going to set clipping mask, and for those of you who don't know how a clipping mask works, anything I place on layer 9 will be clipped to this or contained in this shape placed on layer 4. So we're just going to add some stripes to the t-shirt. Now I'll select the rugged marker, 14%, the darkest color, new layer, and I just add that line there. Now the mighty pencil at around 16%, we'll keep the dark blue color, new layer, and it's time to add the tattoo. Now I'm using the distress brush, 36%, the lightest color. I'll just turn the sketch off, create a new layer. And we're just going to add this really cool texture here and there, just mainly to these dark bits. And a little over the t-shirt. Now I'm going to use the gritty crayon. Take it up to 40%. Use the lighter blue. I'm going to turn the background layer on. Can take the opacity down ever so slightly and close these groups, create two new layers, select both, group, rename. I'll call this BG for background, select that group, pop it on top, select the bottom layer here, and I'm going to add some of these groovy waves. select the top layer here, and I'll just draw these splashes in. So with this layer selected, let's just duplicate that, and we'll select the arrow tool. We'll move this over here, make it a tad smaller. I'm going to change the angle a little bit, like so. And now I'll just take the size down to about 23% and create a new layer. I'm just going to draw some clouds in. New layer, and this cloud. Now the distress brush, take it up to about 50%. We'll keep the color, create a new layer on top, and I'm just going to add this really cool texture just here and there. Now I'll be using the Magic Rugged texture, one of my favourite brushes, at around size 47%. Let's just turn the sailor sketch on. Create a new layer. So I have this smoke coming from the pipe. Now I'll select the saddle noise brush at 100%. I'll select the dark blue color. Let's just close this group. Turn the sketch layer off. Select this layer, create a new layer on top, and I'm just going to add this texture to the entire canvas, like so. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see what it looks like, but I am going to do something to this. I'm going to select a different blending mode. So let's try linear light and take the opacity down to about 60%. And can you see this gorgeous texture in the background on all the colors on the background too? Just adds that real kind of retro touch to the illustration. Now I'm going to use the gravel brush at 9%. I'll keep the color, the darkest blue. I'll create a new layer on top here. And I'm just going to add this kind of, just zoom up so you can see, I'm just adding this kind of really subtle texture to the pink areas here and there. Around the ear. And the neck, bit around the chest, top of the chest here, and just on the arm as well. And there you have it, our vintage sailor illustration is all finished, full of texture and charm. I hope you had fun following along and picked up some new techniques for creating a simple 4-color illustration with plenty of personality. Let's just zoom in quickly. This illustration is big on texture. Take a look at that texture in the cloud, in the background. Just this gorgeous texture all throughout. I'm really in love with the smoke coming from the pipe. And how about those stripes on the t-shirt? And then we've got that beautiful texture on the arm. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a tutorial. And of course, leave a comment below. I'd love to see your versions of this sailor. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy illustrating!